Good evening, nation. Welcome to the Midnight Ride. You got your main men, Tony the one and only, and Zev the Magnificent. Following tradition, I wanted to begin this episode by asking Tony how he's doing today. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm doing marvelous. How are you?
I am so ecstatic. This is going to be an episode for the books. So the first question of the evening I want to ask my friend Tony is, does he plan on taking any vacations to Portland, Chicago, or Washington, D.C. anytime soon?
No, I don't plan on taking any vacations or recommend anyone else taking vacations to these liberal abominations.
Okay. What current events might make you feel less likely to want to go see the sights of these fine liberal-run cities?
Well, for one, we got the gang violence in Chicago that is ongoing. Black on black crime is out of control. No one wants to talk about it. CNN don't want to talk about it. Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, no one wants to talk about it. But these places, Portland, Baltimore, Chicago, all these places are liberal run cities. These are places that probably have never had a Republican elected to any major office within the past couple of years. And so there's no excuse for why these places are so run down, why they're so poorly managed, mismanaged, and why they represent so many bad ideas for society and for culture, etc. Really, the only reason why these places are upheld, so to speak, right now is because of their economic benefit, which they benefit from prior administrations and how they've structured things. So yeah.
It always seems like so much of it just comes from tourist activity. It's
Yeah.
like for whatever reason, maybe these cities were up on a pedestal, many years ago, when you had fresh immigration coming into New York, Chicago, all these places, they were like monumental. They were like landmarks of the country. But people that actually live in these places will tell you how they have been denigrated into war zones. And there was a letter recently written and signed by multiple mayors, and we will include the link to this letter before the powers that be take it down. So screenshot it as quickly as you can. But this letter basically says that they want Trump to stop sending federal troops to come to the city's aid, and they feel that this is a political stunt on Trump's part. They feel that Trump is out of line. They feel that what Trump is doing is the equivalent of the Gestapo stormtroopers in Nazi Germany, breaking down doors and ripping away Jewish people to send them to concentration camps. And my question to Tony is, would he sign his name on that letter?
To support the petition?
To support the petition.
No, I would not. These are places where we need more police. We need all the police that we can get in these places to get them back under control. And I think that these citizens should be asking, why is it that my local official who sees around that there's chaos, that people are dying in the streets. There was a news story that came out this week about how they just discovered a burned body in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or wherever this place, where the George Floyd thing took place in Minnesota. They discovered that there was a burned body in a pawn shop. This is like a month after the event. Nobody knew about it. So these are places where we need more order. We need more direction, more structure. And I think it's a good thing that the president is going in and doing this. I think that, as if you've been listening to the podcast, that I believe he should have done this earlier. And so this is definitely a good thing. And once again, we need to be questioning the motives of these people who just sit idly by while the cities are trashed and raided and looted, etc.
Yeah, it seems again and again that these mayors, and in some cases governors, are trying to accommodate a very loud minority. It's like they are afraid of the chaos and the, let's say, destruction that's taking place in their cities. They want to keep it under wraps, and Trump sending federal troops, in their eyes, is shining light on the subject. Looking at the verbiage of this letter, it says that, and this is the one that the mayor signed, as you are well aware, Trump threatened to deploy federal forces in Seattle to quote unquote clear out a protest area, and in Chicago, quote unquote, clean up the city. And so it's like they're trying to imply that he is nefarious in his actions through this language they're using, clear out a protest area. I mean, this is not the kind of protest area you saw during the civil rights movements. They even try to compare what's going on with some of these like wild riots going on in their cities with a civil rights movement, and it's anything but a civil rights movement. As far as I'm concerned, MLK, Malcolm X, who's the guy that died recently? Help me out.
Who?
Not Hellway. The senator who just died.
John Lewis.
John Lewis, yeah. I don't remember any of their protests involving, men burned to a crisp, just lying there in the middle of the street. Kind of like what was just mentioned a second ago. You said he was found in a pawn shop, right?
Mm-hmm. Or the person, I don't know if it was a he or a she.
Right, yeah. We don't discriminate gender, right? But, yeah, it is wild. And, you add to this soup of chaos and destruction with all this, let's say, political pressure to wear a mask. I know that I think it might have been Nebraska has been considering doing like a statewide like mandate that all people must wear a mask anytime they go outside. How do you feel about that?
Statewide mandate?
Yeah.
On the mask?
Yeah.
In Nebraska?
Yeah.
Well, I actually have been corresponding with someone in Nebraska, and they seem to be very in opposition to this. As a matter of fact, they are looking up researching ways to oppose the mask, and they are looking up policies. Walmart, and if you do go to a Walmart store, you can say that either you don't want to wear a mask because of age, or because of your health condition, or you can say because of religious reasons. And so these individuals in Nebraska, they are opposing these actions being taken, and they're even taking a step further and saying that they are not going to support businesses that support the mandate.
Yeah,
and I think that this is a great thing for the Nebraskan people to rally back against this. But it shouldn't be this way. This is Nebraska. This is not California. What are they doing this statewide mask mandate in Nebraska, out of all places? I mean, when did Nebraska turn into California?
Right.
New York.
Right. I mean, you think that would be like the least likely place, like that's where you could go like hide out in the crop fields and be safe from all this, urban chaos. So, I tell you one aspect of mask is I'm having a harder and harder time keeping mine clean. I had my mask on the other day when I was out with some friends, and I had this like kind of strange taste in my mouth, and I realized that the shape of the mask had like compacted these hairs, I guess from one of my pets, like into the coating of the mask, and I was like breathing in the hairs every time I put the mask on. And I don't know. I mean, like I feel like there's a lot of nasty stuff being inhaled in these masks, and people don't even know it. I mean, have you had any experiences like that?
Well, I constantly see people wear the same mask every day. Whether they work at the store or whatever, they wear these masks and they never clean them, they never sanitize them, and even if you had a perfectly sterile mask, sanitized mask, there's a lot of debate about whether that would be effective. So imagine you taking a dirty mask and the effectiveness of the dirty mask,
So you wear a different mask each day?
No.
You just take the time to clean yours?
No. I wear the same mask because I refuse to buy another one. I don't want to support the system or the hocus pocus stuff that's going on.
So you don't have a hard time with the hairs or anything like that?
No, I just leave mine in my car.
He must have one of those special N99 masks, the ones that are like selling for $500 on Amazon. Okay, so let's talk about some further issues. So one of our, or at least one of my idols, I don't know how Tony feels, but Tucker Carlson recently claimed that New York Times was trying to target him and his family by doing a story about where he lived. He mentioned how in the past, due to liberal newspaper reporting, his family was targeted, and he himself was targeted by Antifa and other liberal extremists because people found out where he lived due to the reporting that exposed it. So, in response, Tucker mentioned the names of the reporters that had allegedly done this, and then some of the Tucker supporters went after those liberal reporters and listed where they lived. And there's different angles to this, but we don't know. I don't know. I'm sure Tony doesn't know either whether or not it's true what Tucker is claiming. But I wanted to see Tony's thoughts on the issue, and then I was going to offer mine.
Well,
Who do you think's a good guy here?
I don't think that there's any good people in this scenario. I think that both sides are probably in the wrong.
Yeah.
I think that there's no evidence that Tucker has presented that they were getting ready to release the names. And also, but in the same breath, I wouldn't put it past the New York Times to do something like this. I mean, we know who the New York Times is, and but I also know that Tucker knew what he was doing when he released those two reporters' names. He said it multiple times in that segment, so he was obviously wanted other people to go out and look, for these people. And I don't think that there's any goodness in this scenario. So
Yeah, and to me, it sets a dangerous precedent of reporters and politicians just listing where people live. As a matter of fact, segue into our next topic, the Missouri couple, with the guy who kind of looked like Scarface, he had the machine gun, he was in the pink shirt, and his wife, who are defending their homestead from rioters storming their neighborhood. The rioters were in their neighborhood because they were marching towards the mayor. Uh, and the mayor had publicly listed the names and the locations of politicians that had said they wanted to defund the police. And so that's just kind of bizarre to me that, politicians and journalists are resorting to this type of behavior. I mean, to me, that's like the ultimate blood sport just to try and expose people's families. And I think it's a coward's way out. I honestly think that, and then the other weapon that's being used very often is just for some random woman to accuse someone, and then all of a sudden people are bastardized without any kind of due process that they've committed the act that they're accused of. I mean, just like this is going a while back, and I'll see if Tony has any kind of thoughts on this previous matter, but like Brett Kavanaugh. If you remember that there was never any evidence. They just brought a woman to the stand to witness, and she gave a very hysterical testimony, and it's like he had to face all this accusation and demonization, but to me there was never any proper evidence to make me think he committed the crime he was accused of. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
well, I mean, if you just put it in plainly, the Democrats, they come up with these women, they use them, and they cast them away.
Yeah, sure.
Where is the woman now? I mean, is she still on CNN every night?
Yeah.
Is she still on MSNBC, ABC every night? No. They've totally forgotten about her. So if what she was claiming to be true, they would still be covering it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I tell you, I believe that this was a strategy that the Democrats picked up on with Monica Lewinsky. Bill Clinton had, you could say, the political savvy to find a way to rebound that. But then in the recent years with Epstein and all these other things being uncovered, and then of course the infamous portrait of Bill Clinton in the blue dress that was in Epstein's mansion. Have you seen that, by the way?
Mm.
Well, I'm jealous. I wish I could have that erased from my mind, but now it's scarred there forever, burned there forever. But anyway, I think what the liberals realized that women have a certain power. When Monica came out and started talking about how Bill Clinton had made love to her and committed intimate activity with her in the Oval Office in the White House. That almost ruined his career, and I think that was the moment when liberals realized that we can give conservatives we can give them a taste of their own medicine. We can throw it back at them, And I think ever since then, that's become a big strategy that you see, very often in today's politics. I mean, you may remember when Trump was running for office, as soon as he brought up the Bill Clinton accusation, there was like 30 women who came out all at once saying that he had assaulted them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different. I mean, I would say that the Lewinsky thing was a big thing because Bill Clinton lied about it. But I would also say that it was a big deal because, you know, a lot of Americans viewed it to be immoral because he was married. Now, I think these women today, the morality of the issue has gone out of the wayside. And they're not claiming necessarily that they were being adulterous with the men, but that the men were raping them, or sexually abusing them,
Right. Right.
It's just a little different than what Bill Clinton was, going through, because he was just, they were just saying that he was an adulterer, and he lied about it. Now men are being painted as evil deviants, who are, forcing women to do things, and we know that, in many cases that's not it's not the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just getting at the idea that I think that might have been the moment, and the woman, that politicians on both sides realize the power of having a woman accusing a man, whether it's true or not, because that can completely just defame a politician. Anyway, that was a bit divergent, but where were we at? Well, I want to talk about, I want to talk about the couple in Missouri arming themselves. They were recently indicted by, I think it was a district judge, and Tony can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, I've read a little bit on this district judge, and she's accused a lot of people in the past, the governor of Missouri, of, she felt that she was being targeted based off of race. You can tell she's very conscientious of race. And I think that she indicted this couple to make a political statement. And she actually claimed that it was very dangerous that this couple were waving weapons in a threatening manner at the peaceful protesters, which coincidentally had just stormed and taken down the gate to their private neighborhood. She didn't mention that last part. So I think it's a political statement. I think it's a shame that this couple was indicted. It sounds like the governor is going to pardon them, and even Trump would probably pardon them. It might be kind of a political gain on Trump's part. But despite whatever hypocrisy you may claim there, I do think that they're probably safe. But think about the reputation that they're going to have to face now. And I saw an interview with the man who wielded the machine gun, and he said that if he was not self-employed, he would have lost his job immediately. He would have completely been persecuted. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, if Tony, let me ask you this. If you had a bunch of crazy cannibals outside your house, ripping down your private gate, saying that they're going to, kill your dog and, take your wife away, how would you react?
Well, I think how they reacted was sensible. They didn't cause any violence to the people. The people brought violence to them.
Yeah.
They brought the threats to their house. This couple did not go around waving guns at people for no reason. I mean, I'm sure they would have been perfectly fine sitting in their house, sipping their tea, doing whatever they were doing. But these people brought the threats to them. And it is right for people to defend themselves if they feel that they're being threatened. And so these protesters, they had no business being in that neighborhood. It's a private neighborhood. They committed a crime by breaking and destroying property in the neighborhood. And this couple, regardless of whatever whether their gun safety antics were correct or not, doesn't really matter because none of the people were hurt, none of the people were harmed, and if the people had never showed up to their doorstep, it would not have been a problem to begin with. And I think it just underscores the problem with our justice system is, we don't have any justice in this country because everything is so highly politicized. If you had a district attorney there that was a conservative, never would have been charged. If you had one that's a liberal that's trying to make their way, trying to get a vote, trying to become a senator or whatever else, they are going to they're going to go ahead and charge that person. And it just so consequently ends up being that they lived in the St. Louis area, and St. Louis is the only part of Missouri that votes heavily liberal, heavily Democrat. So this just goes to underscore our justice system and how corrupt it is.
Yeah, and there's way too much politics in the justice system. There was an actual interview with Cuomo, who I think is just completely sold out. I think he's completely drinking the Kool-Aid. But he was interviewing the man from Missouri and the lawyer of the man from Missouri who defended his house. And Cuomo, who went to law school, probably from some kind of like crabby online institution, started quoting all this legal jargon. And I'll play a clip for you guys on the podcast.
But they're yelling, they're angry. They did not go up your steps. They didn't go to your house. They didn't touch you. They didn't try to enter your home. They didn't try to do anything to your kids. But you say you were assaulted. You're using the civil definition of that, which is that you had the apprehension that something bad was going to happen to you. But nothing did. But to call terrorism, when the people are there protesting how the community is treated by the police, is a little bit of reverse psychology at a minimum, is it not?
No. You're absolutely wrong. The reason why they did not get up my steps was that my wife and I were there with weapons to keep them off our steps.
How do you know?
Because they were coming at us until I displayed the weapon, and that stopped them. I came out.
So do you? I'm sure a house like that. I'm sure a house like that has cameras. Do you have video of them coming up the steps and being in your house?
I'm not going to discuss the level of my private security on national television.
My client has, since the very outset of this publicity, made it really, really clear the last thing he wanted to do, and he and his wife are both appalled at the prospect of being utilized as a rallying call for people sitting in Barco loungers with a Confederate flag behind them and a 12 gauge in their hand. My clients have fought as lawyers for 3+ decades for the civil rights of people of color. My clients are completely behind and endorse the message of BLM. What they are not capable of doing is embracing the abject utilization of that noble message that we all need to hear over and over and over again as a license to rape, rob, pillage, bowl over all of our rights for a
None
man
of that
to have
happened
to
here,
worry.
by the way.
Oh, I beg your pardon. When you have a man and a wife on their property in their home in a full-on assault occurring by a mob.
Full-on assault. They're
By
walking
the way,
down the street in front of their house, Mr. Watkins.
I beg your pardon. That's not correct.
Chris,
you don't have your facts
Chris,
correct.
I'm just looking at the video.
To sum it up for Tony, basically what Cuomo said was when the man who defended his house claimed that he was about to be assaulted, Cuomo said, "Oh, but did the people actually step foot in your house? Did they actually touch you? They were just peacefully protesting." And then the lawyer basically was like, "Oh well, then the lawyer's a character you'll see in the clip, but the lawyer was basically saying that my people felt threatened, my clients felt threatened, and would you feel threatened in this situation?" And then Cuomo was like, "Oh no, well I wouldn't have this issue because they wouldn't be assaulting my house." And it was just baffling to me. I mean, like, I really think Cuomo is drinking the Kool-Aid. And the greatest YouTube comment, and most underrated YouTube comment was, if Chris Cuomo feels that way, everyone in the YouTube comments should rendezvous together and hop in Chris Cuomo's pool and enjoy his backyard without his blessing. Would Chris Cuomo like that? So what are your thoughts on CNN being so nefarious and so defending the goons as opposed to the man who fought them back?
Well, we know CNN is corrupt. I mean, this is par for the course.
Corrupt news network.
Yeah, we know this. We'd expect this from someone like Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon and Wolf Blitzer and all the rest of them, Gloria Borger and all the rest of them, right? This is what we expect from these people. Now, they're total hypocrites. We know this because, like I said before, none of these CNN anchors are going to go live in these black communities.
Sure.
And so they all live behind pristine gated communities that have security guards and whatever else. It's just, it's the same thing as if how the Hollywood people, or the Hollywood people, as some of us would say, the Hollywood people, they always have, these bodyguards and protectors and, people around them, right? And they want to talk about how they want to get rid of the Second Amendment, because it's causing so much violence.
Right.
Right. Well, if you think that guns cause the violence, why don't you, not have a protection unit that has guns? You know. So it's hypocrisy, and Chris Cuomo, they need to take him off the air. He needs to come off the air. His brother should be put in prison for what he did to the old people in the nursing homes with the coronavirus. If you don't know that, you should look it up.
Maybe he can meet his new girlfriend there, right?
Yeah, or something.
Since he's single, if you've seen those interviews.
So all these politicians, news networks, they're all connected to the big top. Even Fox News is in on this mess, and so we need to be mindful of that.
We do. Final comment on Chris Cuomo. Tony, are you familiar with the Fredo controversy?
No.
So this is a while back, and it's probably a little bit dated for me to bring this up, but since I'm kind of on a Chris Cuomo rant, Chris Cuomo, I can't even say his name. A while ago, he had, while he was out with his family, some random individual basically say he was Fredo, and what Fredo means. Have you seen the Godfather films?
No.
Okay, but Fredo is like the young, incompetent, incapable brother. And when Chris Cuomo was called this, I mean, his face turned red like a tomato, and he went on a rant. I mean, he started screaming in this guy's face. I mean, he completely lost his mojo. And I just think that type of temperament they displayed in that moment, that'd be like the equivalent, of me calling Tony, Tony Baloney. Does that upset you?
No.
No, but if I call Chris Cuomo Fredo Cuomo, he would just have a fit. And I'm pretty sure that same temperament, if he had those same protesters out in his front lawn, then he would probably explode, literally. Any other anything else you want to mention on that? Or you want to move on?
The last thing I would say is that conservatives need to stop going on CNN.
Yeah.
Stop giving them credibility. Stop going on CNN. Stop going on MSNBC. Stop appearing on ABC. Stop giving them credibility. If they want to air the liberal talking point all day, let them have the liberal politicians on all day, right?
Yeah.
Force people to have to go to other networks to hear some other opinions, because otherwise you just give CNN this false sense of credibility every time they try to say, oh, we got Republicans and like you see it during the election coverage. They'll try to say that they've got Democratic strategists and Republican strategists, right? But these Republican strategists, all they are is just, Republicans in name only, rhinos.
Rhinos, that's right.
So, stop giving them credibility.
I completely agree. And, it's also at a point where I really feel like many of these so-called strategists are reading off of a script that they're given beforehand. Okay, so one thing I want to mention is there was a teacher, and Tony can help me out on this. Was he from Michigan?
Not sure.
Not sure?
Michigan? No, I think he was from Colorado.
Well, it could be any teacher.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. And he was fired for basically, and I'll include a link to this story in the description as well down below. But he was fired for mentioning that all he basically said, all that he said was, I'm tired of hiding. Trump is our president. And that's basically all he said.
Michigan.
Yep. Is that what I said originally?
Yeah.
Sharp. But anyway, he just got fired for plainly stating the fact. Really, there was no bias or partiality I know of. Tony can correct me. And all that the teacher said was, tired of hiding, tired of lying, Trump is our president. And so when I read the article, he was brought in by a committee at the school, and the school told him that they would think over the reprimand for what he did. They came back several days later, and he was fired. And he was very beloved. He was a baseball coach, AP world history teacher. He made that class fun, which is a miracle. So this guy had a lot going for him, and he never got into politics with the kids, and he was fired. I mean, it's very similar to that situation. It was like a Fort Worth woman. teacher, and she had privately tweeted, and somehow it was made public that Trump needed to help with the illegal immigration problem. Do you remember that kind of?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah. Just it's like saying, please help us. Come help our situation. It's not saying anything racial or anything like the elitist. It's just like, please God save us. And but I think she almost got fired. She got maybe suspended, then she fought her way back in, if I remember correctly. Why she'd want to return, I don't know. But uh, Tony, how do you feel about this? I mean, you think this teacher was treated fairly?
Well, obviously not. The teacher was not treated fairly, and this is just another incident where we see that there is a strong liberal bias in the K through 12 education system. I mean, we already noticed this in the colleges and universities, but now we see it firsthand in the K through 12 school education system. And unfortunately, this gentleman here was treated wrongly. But my hope is that he gets justice and that he gets his paycheck and that he goes to the lawsuit and he gets justly paid. But unfortunately, you know, uh, if you are a teacher now in the K through 12 system, it's not possible for you to be a conservative and speak up.
Yeah.
They don't want you to speak up. They want you to be silent. They don't want to have any pushback because they know that the pushback is going to expose their the weakness in their arguments. And so I think that this is a great thing that this teacher spoke up. And I know of some people who who have said that they're going to be doing this upcoming. And so we will see how this transpires as the election becomes closer.
Yeah, there's another YouTube video, and I'll include it if it hasn't been taken down yet. But it's a woman whose child was suspended from school, or asked to leave the school rather, for waving a Trump flag around on America Day. And when she went to tell the principal, he just told her to leave. She was out of line. Kids felt threatened by the flag. And, I'm just so sick and tired of these administrators pussyfooting around, being afraid of taking a stand, caving in to what is ultimately, I believe, and I will go to the grave believing, this is a loud minority. The majority of people in these towns, they're not offended by this stuff. I mean, they know that everyone's inclined to their own opinion. And this teacher kept it out of the classroom. Many teachers that I've had, friends of mine and their children have told my friends, and they've told me, they've had teachers that have compared Trump to Hitler. They've compared him to Satan. They have basically said Trump is the root of all evil. And, and if any of those kids in those classrooms said anything about lying, crooked, heartless Hillary, then they would be sent home. and I'm sick of it. I mean, like, to me, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious that it's just not fair. I mean, I don't have any kids at the moment that I know of. Tony doesn't have any kids at the moment that he knows of, or at least he hasn't told me. But if you had kids, do you feel comfortable, sending them to school?
No, I've already determined in my mind that if I do get the opportunity to have kids later on in the future, that I will be homeschooling them. These kids are teaching these schools are teaching these kids just ridiculous things. I mean that there's no such thing as two genders. That it's a good thing for a man and a woman to be together. This is natural. They teach these kids, for us that are Christians at least, they teach these kids that evolution is the only answer. That there are no other alternatives. They don't teach these kids morals or values. They abhor morality and values. They look down on you because you have standards, and this is not something that we want to contribute to. And I think ultimately the goal is and we've started to see this with some teachers unions. They started to openly say that you must get rid of charter schools. I don't know if you've seen that in the news, but the California Teachers Union has decided that they're not going to report back unless the charter schools are gotten rid of. And so I think ultimately that is the goal, is to get rid of charter schools, to get rid of private schools, to get rid of homeschool, and have everybody go to the government school so that they can teach them the government propaganda, and then they come out, thinking this garbage, and then they go out and vote this garbage, and this is how we get the Black Lives Matter garbage, right?
Oh yeah.
So we need to stand up against this stuff, and we need to openly call it what it is. And these Republicans and these conservatives need to start standing for the truth. We need to start voting out these scumbags like Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy and all these rhinos in the party that don't stand for anything. And we need to start voting for people that are going to stand up for the truth, right? That's what needs to start happening. And until that happens, conservatives are always going to be losers because they're always trying to take the moral high ground. They're always trying to be the good ones on the street. The Democrats have no morals. They have no values. They get down in the dirt. They're like pigs. They get down in the dirt. They roll around. They get muddy. They don't care what happens, right? They just want the end goal, right? The end justifies the means. And so I'm tired of conservatives not standing up. I'm tired of libertarians not standing up. And what's even worse is we've had libertarians that are supporting this Black Lives Matter stuff because they think that it's going to ultimately lead to, no government, right? And then they could just start all over again, right? We know that this doesn't make sense, right? So people need to start standing up for the truth. And I'm ultimately just tired of the whole system. I'm tired of the fact that we have people in this country that obviously want to destroy the country. And we should have started to deport these people a long time ago and stop being so nice about it. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. If you don't believe in the American values, we need to deport you back from where you came from or put you somewhere else, that has the values that you want,
Yeah.
We can swap you out, we can do a trade, or whatever,
Yeah.
We should have been doing this a long time ago. But now we have the communists in the school system. We have the communists that are the principals, the communists that are controlling the universities. I mean, it's too far gone now. I mean, we can't do anything about it. We thought that Trump was going to come out and expel all of these people. And we have seen in the news this past week, they found that there was a university professor, I think at Harvard or Yale somewhere, who got caught selling information to the Chinese.
No.
And so there's no telling all this stuff is going on in these institutions. And so I'm just sick of it. I'm tired of it. And people just need to start standing up for the right thing. And otherwise, we're not going to have a country anymore.
Yeah, and the other thing is these conservatives need to stop apologizing.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention this, and we'll see if Tony knows that much about it. But AOC, everyone's favorite Wonder Girl, recently was verbally confronted by a Republican House representative. I think his last name is Yoho or Johan. It doesn't matter because he's a wuss. But he basically walked up to her and said she was disgusting, for claiming that it was economics that was causing the rioting in the streets. As she ignored all this hateful rhetoric that we're seeing from the BLM leaders, the Black Lives Matter organization. Let me emphasize organizational leaders. And so he confronted her. She throws a hissy fit. And next thing you know, he's apologizing before Congress on, I guess, C-SPAN, saying that, I can't believe, that I shouldn't have acted this way. I'm a good Christian man. And I think he had every right to say that she was disgusting, because I think that's a disgusting notion to sit there and claim that all these BLM organizational leaders are harmless and it's only economics and quarantine that's causing all this rioting, when there's definitely more nefarious things at work. But it's just these conservatives, just like the quarterback, what's his name, Drew Brees?
Yes, Drew Brees.
Yeah,
yes.
Saying that he did something wrong. I mean, that's the worst. I mean, I'll never forget, and I wish Trump would kind of keep this standard of conduct. Trump had made a comment about Jeb Bush's wife.
Mm-hmm.
You remember this?
No, I did not.
Something to do with Jeb Bush was very sympathetic to illegal immigrants because his wife was from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was something that was kind of like, you know, kind of vintage Trump, just kind of raw, kind of crude, but there was some logic to it. And Jeb Bush, during a debate, said, "Trump, you're going to apologize to my wife." And you know what Trump said?
No.
He said, "Nope, not going to do it. Not going to apologize." And for a moment, I was like, you know what? That's a man. That's a man up there on that podium. That's a man that can, you know, free us from the bondage, you know, of these liberal elitists. But, you know, whether Trump comes through in the end, well, he's got about, what, 99 days, 98 days to see if he comes through or not. But, yeah, I just can't stand these grown men apologizing for speaking the truth. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, I agree. You know, I'm all about that. I think that unfortunately, our president hasn't been he hasn't taken the same energy that he campaigned with and transferred it to his politicking or administrative section. Yeah, we definitely need to support politicians that are going to come out and say the truth. You know, we do have a couple that are okay. I mean, you know, Ted Cruz is okay every now and then, and you know, a few of the other Republicans are okay every now and then. But you know, we definitely need the Republican Party to be the opposition. They need to come up as the opposition. Instead of we have our senator here in Texas, John Cornyn, who wants to change Columbus Day to Juneteenth Day. Why are you bowing down to these people? Why bow down at all? You know, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Yeah.
And over the last 50 years, probably, the Republicans have just been giving inch after inch after inch after inch. And look at where we've got. Look at what we have to show for our efforts, right? This country is going downhill. And if the Republicans don't wake up, I mean, if Joe Biden gets elected this November, you might well just, you know, just cast the whole country off into the Pacific Ocean or something, because it is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. Have you are you familiar with Top Gun? You heard of Top Gun?
A little bit, maybe.
But you know, it's that guy that flies the jet.
Uh-huh.
There's a scene at the end where they shoot all the honing missiles, the heat-seeking missiles. Okay, and they track him, and he's got like 5 or 6 missiles coming after him at once. The second that Biden is sworn in as president, you'll look up at the sky. I'll give you a better analogy. It's like 300 arrows will blot out the sun. Coming from all these Middle Eastern countries, you know, nuclear bombs will blot out the sun, and they will all be heading towards the United States, towards your hometown. You'll look and you'll see the missiles and the arrows coming as soon as Biden is sworn in.
Well,
our arrows will blot out the sun. Then we will fight in the shade.
and you know, they may make it mandatory for you to have to take this vaccine. No questions asked about it. You know, so I definitely think that, you know, I heard somebody say this the other day. You know, we know what we're going to get out of Trump. You know, we know what we're going to get. You know, he may say a couple things that rub you the wrong way every now and then, but you know what you're going to get, right? At least we have the country that's still intact right now, right?
Yeah.
If we put Biden in there, or we put Clinton in there, there's no telling what this country is going to be like overnight. I mean, we may not even have a country. They may let the United Nations come in here and run everything. I don't know, you know, but we definitely need to. You know, we will talk about the election. You know, we'll do a deep dive in the election later on.
We will
later on another podcast. But you know, we definitely need to be thinking about what these politicians represent. And like I say, you know, I don't support everything that Trump has to say, but I know what Trump is, and I know what I'm getting, right? And Biden, he doesn't even know what he's saying half the time. And I know that he's being run by puppeteers. You know, he's being run by people that are above him, pulling the strings. He's got people in his ear, you know, telling him what to say or what not to say. He can't even get that right half the time. So, yeah, like I say, be very careful about who he puts in there as vice president, because these people, I'm telling you, I mean, they don't have any sense of morality. They have no sense of standards, and they will do whatever needs to be done to get to the ends that they think it needs to be gotten to.
Yeah. I mean, there's an old Southern quote that the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. And I think the modern day version, referring to Joe Biden, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing people he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I really do think that Biden, despite the fact that he can't be as mentally sharp as he was in his heyday in his previous years, I think deep down he knows what he's doing. He knows that he is playing the senile old fart who seems gentle and inclusive and claims Trump is a racist. Says Trump is the first racist president, even though we've had presidents in the past that were like actual slave owners, and Biden has had segregation policy in the past. That's why some call him Segregation Joe. But Biden says these things. He plays this card, but I think he knows that he is the figurehead of the what do they say? The deep state, like the establishment. But we can get more into that juicy stuff, years come on. Me and Tony have to hire bodyguards first before we get into that really good stuff. But he knows, and he is the puppet. I mean, there are people pulling the strings, and if they get some kind of young hotshot, prissy vice president, they will. I mean, it's going to be hell in a handbasket. I mean, get ready. Like Terrell Owens used to say when he played the Dallas Cowboys, get your popcorn ready. I mean, it's gonna be the blockbuster movie you wish you were watching, not living in. So I think that's all of our main topics, at least from my end. Tony, you have any other thoughts?
Well, I just want to say that things get a lot worse here. You need to think about they start off with it's just a mask. This whole pandemic started. It's just a little virus. We just need you to stay at home for 2 weeks. We just need you to stay at home for 4 weeks. Your job is just not essential. You know. We just need you to wear a mask.
Well, we'll send you money in the mail.
Yeah. We'll send you money in the mail, right? We need you to wear a mask, right? Next it'll be, we need you to do the vaccine.
Yeah.
The next it'll be, we need you, we need to start rounding the people up, right? That don't want to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make in this is that, just because it's not you today doesn't mean it won't be you tomorrow. I mean, I'm sure this Michigan, not the Michigan, but the Missouri couple, I don't know what their political leanings were before this, but it's for sure now that they're not Democrat. They won't be voting Democrat.
Right.
I tell you that much. If they were Democrat before, I guarantee you they won't be voting Democrat now.
Right.
So the thing is that, it may not be your doorstep today, but at some point, it's going to be an issue between them and you, right? Because they want total control. And to them, if you don't think exactly like they think, you are a part of the problem. And you must be eradicated. So if it's not you today, it may be Trump today. It may be the Missouri couple today. It may be the Michigan teacher today. It may be whatever, but could be you tomorrow. And so that's why it's important to stand up for the truth. That's why it's important to make sure that we are, providing some sort of opposition in arguments. And just in general, we need to be trying to persuade people to vote for the right thing, because ultimately we're going to be getting more and more problems in this country if we have people that keep voting for more and more evil stuff. So, that's about all I have for this week.
Yeah, my final quote is this. It's actually a chapter in a Jordan Peterson book called 13 Rules for Life. And he actually says, always tell the truth, but if you can't, at least don't lie. And I want to emphasize that because sometimes telling the truth can put you in a compromising situation, like if you're surrounded by bloodthirsty liberals. But I'm so sick of people lying just to accommodate and just to try to, tally up likes on their social media. I mean, no more of this. Children of the lie. I mean, we can't have this. So This is Tony and Zeb signing out. We'll catch you later. And it's always fun on the Midnight Ride.